Right? Right?
It
Okay.
does.
Okay, all right. So we're getting started here. Moist, thank you for
Hey.
being here. Welcome
Hell
to the
yeah, brother.
show. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm doing okay. It's been a slow day. We were just talking before.
Yeah.
I'm really like getting into this rhythm of like just sleeping uber early. Um, I don't know if you're like into like growth hacking or like biohacking, but I have this like I call it my lizard lamp. It's literally just like a red light panel that's like the size of your torso, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I've been using that pretty frequently. Yeah, the idea is like you the sun has like different colors of wavelength to it, right? And the most beneficial are at dusk and dawn.
Right.
And you know, like as as humans in a society, we don't get enough sunlight in general, but we especially don't get enough sunlight at dusk or dawn. And even if we do, it's not like maximum contact because you're wearing clothes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the biggest advantage, and again, like I'm not a scientist, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know if it's a placebo, but
Mhm.
placebos are also the most successful drugs in pharmaceuticals. So keep that in mind, I guess, right? But I don't know exactly what it is, but one of the benefits is better sleep. And now it's like I'm getting into this rhythm. Like when it comes like 6 p.m., like I'm starting to conk out like real hard. I think we were talking in the Discord about like coffee, and
Yeah.
someone said like, "Oh, I need coffee in the morning." I'm like, I'm the exact opposite right now. It's like in the morning I have so much energy. Come like 3 p.m., I am conking out. Like I need a coffee real bad,
That's wild. I
right?
I usually stay up uh quite a few days at a time, and then I'll have coffee like every morning outside on my deck.
That's
So
nice. That's
it just
nice.
it just feels nice, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's super nice. I mean, you and I, we have a pretty similar background when it comes to professional life. So I guess like we should actually start like, giving context for this conversation. But
Maybe.
yeah, maybe. So
Oh, why the
for
fuck
those who
am I
don't
here?
know, for those who don't know, Moise has become a pretty good friend of mine within the TFT Discord server. That's discord.gg/teamfight tactics. If you're not there, come join us. It's a great time. How long have you been in the server for?
2-ish years?
So like pretty much near the beginning, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool, cool. Well, you're super active and I'm super active, and we got to know each other and bond a little bit inside the cooking channel. Congrats on getting that, by the way. I heard
Thank you. Thank
you
you.
were asking for that for a while.
Probably since I joined the Discord.
Jesus Christ! You know what's funny is that I joined another Discord community and I
Yeah.
completely forgot that like when I was there, I was also bugging the owner for a cooking channel. So I just thought that was funny. Like that happened a couple days ago, and I was like, "Oh, geez, wow."
Yeah.
But
I think I bothered Nar nearly every single day for a cooking channel for like
when you
2 years.
do you know like why you actually got it?
No, I have no idea. I think Nar just had enough. Or no,
You just tired of it?
I think he decided to pull a prank on me or something, and then he added the cooking channel, but it was just me and two other people in there.
Wait,
And then I
is it
convinced him to
limited
just keep it.
restriction?
What?
Is it limited restriction or is it open to everyone?
It's open to everyone now, but like
Nice.
it, originally it was just me and two other people, and he didn't tell me that it was just me, and I started posting all this food.
Oh, Nair, I love him so much. I love
And
him.
then I guess he decided to keep it.
Well, hey, you and I have bonded pretty well on that cooking channel. I would say so. I think you and
Yeah,
I
we
are
had
the
a
only
food
ones who
war.
actually, yeah, you were the only ones who are actually posting cooking. Um, which I guess like let's set up this conversation that we actually want to have. So today I actually want to try something different. Um, I don't think like I've clearly articulated. Well, you know what? Funny enough, me and Lux had an episode which we call like -1, where him and
Right.
I were just talking about player diff, and then it just never got edited and never it was never put out. But we were actually like talking about like how this whole project started and like what's the idea behind it. But um, for me, right? I've
Yeah.
been playing games for a really long life, for a really long time in my life, like ever since I was a kid, right? And over the years, especially at a young age, you learn how to pick up games really quickly, and you learn how to become really good at them really quickly.
Hmm.
Uh, and what I was finding is that I actually started to gamify a lot of the things in my life. I remembered like when I was in the fourth grade, I had a friend of mine who couldn't beat the boss of like the Super Mario game. I think it was I forget. It was like a Super Mario Brothers game on the Game Boy Advance. Can't remember what it was called, but he
Probably
couldn't
lost coins.
he couldn't no. It was this weird one. It was like Mushroom Kingdom or some shit. Like you went to a different place, and it was not like a Super Mario Brothers game. It was literally like a Final Fantasy turn-based combat
Oh,
game.
the RPG. I didn't know that was on the Game Boy. Huh.
Yeah, yeah. But so I had a classmate of mine who couldn't beat the boss, so we made a little bargain. I would beat the boss for him, and he would do my newspaper English assignment. And I kind of realized there, and it's like, huh, maybe what I'm doing in video games like actually has some semblance of like real value in the real world. Like it actually has some skill, or there's something there. Um,
What an absolute deal, by the way.
that's a great deal, right? I got in trouble
Yeah.
for it. I got caught. I got caught. His parents called my parents, and then they found out. But
Oh my
and then I
gosh.
had to do it anyway, so it was a deal breaker. But uh, unbeknownst to me, like I actually started to gamify a lot of the things in my life, and one of those things is actually like my social skills. It's funny because like now when I have conversations with people, it's tough over the internet, but like especially in face to face, it's like I feel like I'm playing like almost like a fighting simulator. It's like I can see like jabs and right hooks and
Yeah.
crosses, and I have to block things, and it's interesting to me like that developed over the course of my life, and I wasn't very aware of it until maybe a couple of years ago, and then I
Hmm.
started really thinking like what other areas of our life could we apply gaming to? And funny enough, like when I was starting out in life, one of my first jobs was actually like washing dishes. Um, and like I worked all over the place, worked in different pubs, and eventually started to do other parts of the kitchen, like serving front of house, started to do bar back, started to all that jazz, right?
Yeah.
And eventually I had one of my managers talk to me about cooking, and he said, if you like if you like games, you'll love cooking. And that's kind of like what really got me into like cooking professionally, because I would cook at home. Like
Right.
my mom's Filipino, so it's a very very food centric culture. So we loved food, we loved to cook, so it was very easy for me to get into it.
Right.
But I think that idea of like if you love games, you'll love cooking is really what started my culinary journey.
What a great way to trick a busboy into cooking when you're short staffed.
Well, the thing is actually the place that I had that manager, they actually wouldn't let me cook. I actually begged for a long time. Like I could help with like a box of mushrooms, but they wouldn't
Yeah.
actually let me like cook. So I actually had to leave and go find other places where I could at least like learn how to work the line. But for those who don't know, right? Um, give us an introduction into who you are.
Hello, everyone. I am Moist. Friendly neighborhood cursed food dealer. Uh, I actually, I've been cooking nearly all my life, gaming nearly all my life. Uh, yeah, just a friendly member of the Discord.
Amazing, yeah. So the reason why I actually was really interested in taking you onto the show is because I'm sorry, I'm just dropping a bunch of shit in the background here.
No
Uh,
problem.
why I actually wanted to bring you on the show is because you're the only person that I know right now who plays TFT, has been playing games their whole life, and who also cooks professionally. So,
Dog.
for those who were hoping to tune into this show and learn some crazy stuff about TFT, this is
Nope,
probably not your
just
episode.
me.
But what I'd really love to do with you is actually take a really deep dive into how do games and the experience you've learned from video games impact your life, impact your career?
Right.
Maybe we can even talk about like cooking and how people can learn a dish or two. Which like it's funny because I think there's a lot of correlations between people who are scared or feel like they can't cook, uh, and playing games. So I'd really
Hmm.
like to get into that. But tell me a little bit about like your gaming experience. Like you said, you've been playing games for a really long time. So what was that
Yeah.
like?
So I started uh, when I was really young and probably couldn't even understand video games. Uh, I my babysitter actually had a Super Nintendo, and I'd go over and play Mario all the time. Um, and she eventually, she just gave me the Super Nintendo,
That's great.
and yeah,
That's great.
because I'd always just want to play it. So she gave me the Super Nintendo, and I'd play Super Mario, all these games, mainly Super Mario when I think about it. Um, and then I got a Game Boy, then a GameCube. Nintendo fanboy for life, I guess. Just kind of grew up playing all those games. Got really into Smash Bros. Really early on, and kind of played competitively there for a while in high school, like for maybe 10-ish years, going through all the games. Um, did pretty good for myself. Got into cooking after that. Yeah, just then I eventually found League, and my life has gone downhill ever since.
Yeah, I feel like that's similar for a lot of people. So I actually started playing League season 1. When did you join up?
I so it's really funny. I joined when Kha'Zix got released. And the only reason I remember that is because they had the loading screen, or not loading screen, the login screen, where they would change it to the champion's profile.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And I remember looking at that thing for like a week, and I'm like, when are they going to change this thing? I don't want to look at the bug anymore. Yeah. So
I think
I'm not quite sure when that was, but sometime in high school.
gotcha. Wow, we are old, eh? We're getting it. We're
We
getting it.
are old.
When I first played League, I had a classmate who was talking about it, who I overheard, and I just
Yeah.
downloaded it one day, and they had a week where all the champs were unlocked, like everything was open, and I was like, oh, this game is amazing. And
Yeah.
then when I played it the next week, I was like, where's all my champions? Why is there only like 7?
Debated.
Yeah, I literally got debated, and then they sucked me in for life and stole all my money. And I guess
Yeah.
now I'm doing a podcast on a Riot game. So funny how that works. Funny how that
Yeah.
works.
You're living the dream, dude.
Oh, for sure, 100%, living the dream. So did you want to talk about your restaurant? I know you
Um,
said you didn't want to like dox yourself and leak out personal info, but I'm curious to hear more about your restaurant because I feel like that's gonna set
yeah.
the stage for a little bit more cooking conversation and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it also gives me kind of credit
Just a bit, right?
towards that I'm an actual professional in some ways. Yeah. So I owned a restaurant. It was, kind of like a um, comfort food Canadian cuisine, I guess you could say. We served a lot of poutine. Uh,
That's the best food.
yeah, kind of deal where, uh, it was nice. I
Yeah, well,
miss it
I'm
quite
actually
a bit.
I'm from the fine dining world. So my whole thing is that when I was going through culinary school, the things that I specialized in was molecular gastronomy and
Oh yeah,
fermentation. So
yeah. Okay,
I'm like
okay.
the guy that has like weird pickle jars like in the fridge with all the labels and shit. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at the same time, I also have like syringes and squeeze bottles and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you like one of those people that like syringe spaghetti or whatever?
no, no, no. I mean, like, see, here's the thing: is like when it comes to molecular gastronomy, I feel like a lot of people focus on the tactics of molecular gastronomy
Yeah.
over the actual application, right? Like the application of it really is that you're building, you're enhancing, and you're extracting flavors, right?
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah.
understanding the science of how that works and how you can amplify it. What a lot of people do is they just think, oh, I'm going to use syringes and gels, and ooh, this is molecular gastronomy, and it's like, well, like it kind of is, but to what extent, right? Like, there's no, if it's not serving you a purpose,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
no point in doing it, right? And I feel like that's similarly enough to what I feel like a lot of people do in TFT, where it just jive with me for this on a second. Like, I feel like in TFT, a lot of people are just trying to figure out, like, okay, what units do I need? What items do I need? Okay, done. Let me try and pull that off, right?
Right.
And it's like that that will work, right? Like, you could make it happen, but what happens is
Yeah.
that you also lose, like, the whole ideology of the strategy. Like,
You
you
kind of get
lose.
lost in the sauce.
You yeah, you exactly get lost in the
Yeah.
sauce. And actually, you and I had an interesting conversation about, like, recipes. So I think this is, like, the best way
Yes.
for us to start here. It's like, I feel like a lot of people are just looking for recipes, right? They're just looking, how
I.
do I make this? How do I pull this off? How do I do
Mhm.
this? And what happens is that when you get the recipe, right, you kind of just
Yeah.
take it for what it is, and then you stop trying to understand exactly what it is, right? It's like,
100%. Like, it gives you the list of ingredients that you want, but it doesn't explain to you why you want them or what they do. Like, I have a friend who I've been, playing with for quite a long time, and she was playing a comp, and she just straight up didn't understand why Varys was in the comp. I'm like, she's building it, and I'm like, and she's like, I don't know why he's here. I don't know what he does. I've never read his ability. I just look at the guide and I put him in. And I'm like, that is such a weird understanding of how to play TFT.
well, that's precisely what I mean, right? It's
Yeah.
like, it's people look at recipes, they look at guides, they're like, oh, I need this ingredients, and I need this equipment, I need this kind of pan, right? I'm looking for these
Mhm.
kind of units, I want these items, and that's it. That's as far
Yeah.
as the curiosity goes. And what happens is that you don't actually build a deeper understanding of how to pull off the comp. Like, there are comps where it's like, oh, you want this unit, and this unit for your front line. Well,
Hmm.
it's like, great. What happens if I don't get those units, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Or like,
unless
what
you
do I
actually,
build early? Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And unless you actually understand, like, what they do in the comp, like
yeah.
the sole reason why you have this particular unit, you're not going to be able to understand how to substitute. And that's
Yeah.
like, I feel like that comes with cooking as well, right? It's like,
Yeah.
when
Absolutely.
you're cooking,
Substitutions.
because like, here's the weird thing, it's like, when I cook now, like, I will look up like 4 or 5 different recipes just to see what people are doing with what ingredients, and then I'll just completely
Absolutely.
wing it from there.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Like, it's almost like a Frankenstein of all the recipes that you want to put together.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, right? And it's interesting that, I don't know, you tell me, maybe here I'm going to pick your brain here, right? Like, I find that it's really interesting in cooking how we have such a huge emphasis on, like, fundamentals. Such a
Hmm.
huge emphasis on fundamentals, like just your knife skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, for those who don't know, right? For people within the food industry, we rag on each other's knife skills all the time. Like, that's probably, like, the biggest indicator of, like, if you actually cook or not, is, are
Yeah.
your knife skills good?
And then you have the people with the Bobby Flay pinkies out. I hate it. I hate
Pinkies
when
out?
people
What is
don't know
that?
how to hold a knife. What?
Wait, what? Pinkies out? What?
Have you never seen Bobby Flay? Like, he puts his pinky out when he cooks, and it's so weird. I think
Oh,
it's the pinky.
I don't like that at all. I don't
It's
like that at all.
Yeah, people mimic it and then like they end up with like a massive cut, and it's
Oh,
just
100%. 100%.
it's
100%.
scary to watch, is what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
so let's go into this bit, right? Like here's the funny thing for me is that what I have found in my experience when it comes to cooking is that
Mhm.
9 times out of 10 most people don't know how a knife works.
Right. Well, they understand, oh, sharp blade cut thing, but like they don't understand how to hold the knife, how to like go through the object correctly.
Right.
Like,
Well, it's not even that. It's like people don't know, and this goes for people who don't know how to cook, and this goes for people who know how to cook professionally, right? Like I found that 9 times out of 10 people don't know what a knife actually does, like how a cut actually forms, right?
oh,
And
yeah.
the way it forms, right, is that on a molecular level, right, your knife has like little teeth that
Mhm.
stick into an item, right? And what happens is that when you slide the knife, those create little perforations within the item, and then the weight of the blade will actually deepen the cut, and that's what makes a slice,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So what this means now is that when you cut something, it's not about the downwards pressure;
Yeah,
it's
it's about
about
the across.
the horizontal movement, right?
Yeah,
And just understanding this, understanding how this works, fundamentally changes how you use the item, how you use the knife, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Because most people don't know how to use a light knife. They don't know what to do with it. They're used to like these really big German heavy ass 12-inch knives. Like you just smack the shit out of like a pumpkin or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're used to like a butcher's mallet, and it's like that's completely the opposite of how you're actually going to use a knife. And then once you understand that you're going to pull the knife, right, your grip changes. Now you actually choke up on the blade and you hold the blade itself
Yeah.
because you're trying to pull the blade as opposed to the handle and swing it around, right?
Right.
But it's like this is what I mean by I find it funny that within cooking we have such a heavy emphasis in fundamentals, and then not just in TFT, but I think in like gaming in general, it's like there's not enough emphasis on fundamentals, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, uh, maybe I should have said my rank. uh, I peaked masters, been diamond plat ever since. I know for a fact I suck at scouting. It's one of those things that I never learned how to do early on, and it's so hard to learn how to do now for some reason. Like, I'm just focused on what I'm doing, and I'm never looking at what other people are doing, and it's like a hindrance to my gameplay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, see, here's the funny thing, right? Is that like I think when it comes to cooking,
Hmm.
it really becomes a game of time management.
Yeah.
And that's really how I see TFT too. Right? It's like at the end of the day, the most constant thing in TFT is time.
Right.
Right. The time goes on regardless. You're going to fight someone in 30 seconds and you're going to find another person in 30 seconds, right? The
Yeah.
constant is time. So, what this becomes a game of really is time management, right?
Mhm.
And the thing about cooking is like if you don't know what you're doing, it becomes increasingly hard for you to juggle other things, right?
Yeah.
Like for you and me, like for us to put together, I don't know, like what's a baseline dish that we could agree on?
Uh,
Shit, what's chicken parmesan?
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, right? Like so for you and I, if we think chicken parmesan, right? We're thinking okay,
Mhm.
chicken, flattened, breaded,
Right.
fried with sauce,
Correct.
right? And then
Yeah.
let's do garlic bread too, right?
Okay. Garlic bread,
So
parm.
yeah, got it. So what we're doing in our heads is we're building together not only the ingredients but as well the order of operations,
Yeah.
right? Like you and I both know what we're probably gonna do is we're going to start on the sauce first
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to take the longest,
Yeah.
right?
Then
And
well,
then,
that's cooking.
well, yeah, while the sauce is going, right, that's when
Yeah.
you're going to start working on the chicken,
Right.
right? And then as you're heating up the oil for your chicken, that's when you're going to start the bread,
Right. Yeah.
right? However, if we don't know how to build a sauce,
Yeah. Then I
everything else just kind of crumbles apart because you can't time manage it properly.
right. Yeah. I can see a lot of like people in my head starting with like the bread almost. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you have to know. You tell me because you know not only have you worked in professional kitchens as me as well, but like you've owned your own restaurant. So like
Yeah.
I feel like you have to know what you're doing before you can start building awareness for what's going on around you. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing in League, like actual Summoner's Rift,
Mm-hmm.
because what I find is like the biggest thing for most people to get over is locked camera.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You have to. So I play jungle in Summoner's Rift. I actually have to be paying attention to everything else. So it does help a lot. Like it just helps with my ADHD mind to just be everywhere else at once instead of just focused on my one character. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely, right? It's the same thing. So I've played all the roles, but right
Yeah.
now I'm more of a mid laner, right? But it comes to the same thing where it's like if you have to focus so hard to last hit, you're not going
Mhm.
to focus on the enemy laner. You're not going to focus on tracking the enemy jungler. You're not going to
Yeah.
focus on what's going on in the other lanes, right?
Mhm.
It's like this one fundamental is actually gating you from being able to manage the rest of the game.
Yeah. Like in jungle, you have to be aware of all your timers going off, kind of like in cooking. But like you have to, be aware of dragon. You have to be aware of rift. Have to be aware of your lanes pushing up, like stuff like that.
No,
Like
exactly, right?
yeah,
Exactly. And then
when's the
like
right time to gank? Yeah.
for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and this is what I mean. Like let's come full circle here, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's not understanding the basic fundamentals prevents you
Mhm.
from actually doing them properly, which
Yeah.
prevents you from actually understanding the greater game at large.
Like I see so many junglers who do their full clear and then they're like, what do I do now? Like they're not paying attention to the timers of the jungle, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and like that's see, this is the puzzle that I'm trying to solve. Is like how do you decipher all of this? How do you analyze all this? How do you teach this all to a new player? Because
Right.
for me, like when I see games, it's like, okay, let's focus on everything that we can control and don't focus on whatever we can't. Right.
Right.
Like TFT is such an interesting game to me because it's like I just consider it like the bird child of chess and poker, where it's yes, there's luck involved with it, but a lot of it is strategy. Right.
I hate when people just say luckier player. You know what I mean? Like it's it's a lot about playing to the odds of the game. Sorry to just like
No,
going
go
on.
for it. Go for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. Go
Uh
for it.
like it's playing to the odds of the game. Like you're not gonna roll down at 5 and hit your 4 and 5 costs. Like you have to know when is the right time to roll down and when it's not, and like when it's right to go below 50 and it's not. It it makes me actually mad when people call me a luckier player. Like
Well,
I'm not even good at the game. Like
see, the thing is, like, I don't mind when people say luck because what that means is that they're dismissing their own opportunities to get better.
yeah.
Like, I genuinely don't feel bad, and here's here's my thing, right? Is that ultimately this is a game,
Mhm.
okay? Now, I am not one of those people who think that games are silly. I think games are the most serious thing in the world.
Oh,
However,
absolutely.
however, right? Everything outside of the game doesn't matter.
Yeah.
when you're in the game. But there are more important things to take care of. Like your life comes first, your health comes first, your family
Yeah.
comes first, right?
Yeah.
However, if you're going to play this game, learn how to play the fucking game.
Exactly.
If you're going to play this game and you're going to be serious about it, stop making bullshit excuses.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Like
that's just my point of view. It's like if you're going to do this, actually do it and do it right.
just
And anytime you say, "Oh, this player just got lucky." Oh, BG. Like
yeah.
it's funny because that's our that's our coping mechanism for the
Yeah.
community. But at the same time, like there's always something you could have done better.
Yeah. I have a friend um who she says, "Oh, I want to get better at TFT. I want to get at least, diamond." Um but then when I ask her, I'm like, "Oh, what are you like, here's the patch notes or whatever." She's like, "Oh, I don't read patch notes." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't read patch notes?" She's like, I just don't read patch notes. I like she gets mad when she loses, but then they don't know why they lost because they don't read the patch notes, and then they get frustrated and they don't want to keep playing. And I'm like, just read the freaking patch notes.
Yeah, well, this is what I mean is that there are too many people who are half in, half out, who
Yeah,
want to take it seriously, but they're not willing to put in the work.
yeah.
And this isn't a lot of work. Like reading patch notes is not a lot of work.
It really isn't. Or just coming in the Discord and asking people like, "What's up with the patch notes? What do I need to know?" And they'll just simply say, "Oh, Varus got buffed, Varus got nerfed," like, and this comp's good, this comp's bad now. And then you can just, I guess, pull up the spreadsheet and follow the recipe, but
See,
still, at least you understand what's buffed and what's nerfed.
I'm on the fence of whether or not I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
And I guess from a supporter of the game, I love that. I love that the
yeah,
community helps out each other. I love that the community is devoting resources to each other. I love how we have a Discord where we can just ask questions to talk about anything.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's like the bare minimum you could do, I guess. Like coming in the Discord and asking, and then just following the spreadsheet. But
It's great. It's great, right?
yeah,
However, I don't like it when it just stops there.
yeah, yeah,
And maybe this is just the uber competitive side of me, right? Like maybe this is just me being a competitive gamer and saying like actually learn your shit. Like actually understand why this is strong. Actually understand why this is weak.
yeah.
Actually understand like what does this change in the patch note mean for this comp, for this unit, for the whole game at large, right?
I
And
mean, if you like, I understand what you're saying because then we have a bunch of people saying Trundle OP. You know what I mean? Like Trundle took out 2 3 stars and he OP now. Please nerf Riot. Like they just
I
don't understand.
yeah, the problem is that it becomes kind of a meme, right?
Yeah,
Like the problem is that it's hard to actually have in-depth conversations about the game with people who are either A, not taking it seriously, or we have to repeat the conversation 20 times in a day,
yeah, yeah.
right? Which I'm struggling with and I don't have any answers for, and this could just be me being a negative Nancy just complaining about it. But I think there's something to be said here too, where it's like if we want to see this game actually grow and become
Hmm.
what we all know it can be, there needs to be I don't think it's up to a person, but I think there needs to be a shift in the meta, or at least like in the zeitgeist, if you will, right? Of
Yeah,
the community needs to push the community to be better.
kind of like the rhetoric of the like the just hit um kind of, I don't know, meme. Like it's not just a just hit kind of situation. Like you have to like teach people how to be better. I might be
Yeah.
completely missing your point, but
No, that's it though, right? It's like I'm very cautious of, and I fall victim to using this too, right? Like I'm not trying to ride a high horse and be holier than thou, right? I think these dismissals of like luck, bad luck, BG, didn't hit, just hit, these all hurt us in the long run
Mhm.
because we're not actually embracing what I think is like the beauty of this game.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm
Because,
awful for it. Like, I'm terrible in the Discord of just saying just hit or like, I guess bad game or like player diff. Like I'm terrible for it.
so why is that? Like just asking, not trying to grill you. Like why is
No,
that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just think it's sometimes I'm just fucking memeing on like a newer player or
For
like
sure, yeah. I
whatever.
mean, I remember like we were talking about something in general, just like personal stuff, and then someone came in and asked a TFT question, and I got a little spicy, and I was like, we don't talk about TFT in general.
Yeah,
What is this? What?
yeah,
Which maybe that was like me at fault, right? But I'm
no,
asking like
yeah.
for
I don't know. I just like it's just me memeing on people. Like fuck, it's general chat. Like I leave the coaching up to coaches a lot of the time, I guess. Or if they want to actually answer, I guess someone else could answer, but it's probably not the best for me to answer.
yeah, I'm starting to. That's something that I battle with a little bit as well. Is like I like to help, but I also know I'm not the most qualified person to help. I
Yeah.
100% know that there's way better players than me,
Hmm.
and sometimes I'm wrong, and I will not hesitate to ping the person and be like, "Hey, I was wrong. My bad." Right? Like I will always be. I try to be the first person to admit that I was wrong.
Yeah.
However, right, that also kind of creates this little. It makes me a little scared to want to help people.
Yeah. I'm terrified of being wrong. Like I hate the thought of trying to help someone and just being wrong. So like why wouldn't I just meme on them instead?
That sounds horrible when you put it that way, but I totally get it. Like
Yeah.
I totally
Like
get
why
it.
wouldn't I just fucking meme on them?
So let me ask you this question then: how
Yeah.
how do you learn TFT? Because you've been playing this for a bit, right? I
Right.
know you're a chef, so if you're anything like the chefs that I know, is that you're constantly stealing recipes from other people, you're stealing techniques from other people, you're
Yeah.
watching things and you're trying to incorporate it into your own cooking.
Yeah.
So how are you learning TFT? Because you mentioned that you your words, you're not that great at scouting, right?
No, I am awful at scouting, but um honest to God, the best way I've learned is by coaching. The coaching in the TFT Discord, let me tell you, from the coaches I've had, fantastic people. Uh, Absolutely loved each and every coaching session I've had. Probably bumped me up a rank every single time I've got coaching. Just honest, honestly, just having someone, um, even backseating. I know a lot of people don't like backseating, but like just having someone there and being like, "Oh, why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? Why don't you try this instead?" It is probably the best learning tool I've seen in TFT. Like when I think season 3.5, I learned how to econ. Like I've been playing TFT since set 1. I didn't know how to econ until 3.5. It was wild, and I had enough, and I'm just like, why am I losing all these games? Why like why can't I just reach out for help and get help? and learn how to econ properly. And I eventually got a coach. I think my first coaching session was like over text based. I think me and Bone Apple Tea like just talked on like Discord texting. He's like, "So you want to just save till 50?" I'm like, "I don't want a donkey roll every every round." Yeah, like it's
Like
ridiculous.
to your credit, the fundamentals of this game are not inherent. Like to your credit,
Yeah,
learning the fundamentals of TFT is not a natural process. It's not
yeah,
something that when you're just playing it, like you'll just kind of like figure out.
yeah.
Like it's there, like it tells you, but you don't really understand the importance of it, or you don't really understand the implications
Uh,
of actually econing, right?
yeah. I think the worst instance of me just not understanding how to play TFT was in set 2. You know how they had those tiles, like the elemental tiles.
I only played set 4.5.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I am
in,
fresh. I am fresh to TFT, which is like
in
I think is a really it's interesting for me because I am hyper aware of all the
mhm,
things that I've been learning, and I'm hyper aware of like what I would call fundamentals, but also like advanced techniques. Like it's all fresh for me, right?
yeah.
But go
Well,
ahead.
in set 2, they had these elemental tiles on the board, where if you put your units on them, you would get buffs to your units. So it kind of like strangled like comp placement, but you'd have a pretty good unit. I thought I was being smart by not putting my units on the tiles, so I could have my units anywhere on the board. And I was so dumb. And I
Yeah,
think
well,
that's just why everyone needs like coaching, you know?
I don't disagree with you. I think coaching is probably the most important thing that anyone can get. And
Yeah,
maybe it's because like there's almost nothing else to go by, right? And what I mean by that is like in cooking, you can taste something and then you can try and replicate it. And if it doesn't
right.
taste the same way, if you're like remotely a good cook, you'll be able to identify, hey, like something's missing. And if you're a more
Yeah,
advanced cook, you can be like, okay, I'm missing a spice, right?
right.
I feel like in TFT, there's so little to compare unless you're actually like FOD reviewing, because at the end of the game, you just get like a recap of the units you played,
Yeah. I
right?
I think that is something that they could do better, like on the actual league client, the recap of the game. Like when you look at the league side of for the recap, you
For
get
sure.
like graphs and charts and like, and then you look at TFT and it's like the smallest icons they could have ever put in. Like I don't understand what any of this is. I can't read the items. I can't,
I
you know.
I don't even use the league client to recap my games, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm always using tactics.tools or I'm using lol chess, right? So
yeah,
I think the lack of feedback also stops people from really understanding what they're doing wrong.
yeah,
I really like this like recipe analogy of like here's a recipe, here's the units, here's the items, go, right?
yeah.
And it's
Here's
like
the ingredients. Here's the recipe. Here's like your tools. Go.
yeah, and I genuinely I understand the frustration for a lot of people when they play it and they're like, it's this sucks. Like I'm just not hitting, it's not working, right?
Yeah,
And like 9 times out of 10, like if you are not in high diamond, you are probably suffering from some sort of lack of fundamentals,
yeah.
right? But how do you like the question is how do you actually know if fundamentals is your problem?
Um, I think just looking at other players, and as boring as streams may be to me anyways, I personally, I don't like watching TFT like be played. I like playing it. I hate watching it be played. But like looking at other players and seeing what they're doing is the best way to learn. You know, you don't just it's hard to pick up a game and know what to do. Like you said, the fundamentals are like pretty hidden in this game. Like they're not apparent to when to econ or whatever. But I think everyone deserves like a little bit of help in the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way how we can streamline the process for someone to pick up the game. I'm kind of like gathering a list of like all the frequently asked questions in the Discord. I'm trying to collaborate with the coaches and see if we can put something together.
Yeah,
Because the learning curve of TFT is rough. Like it's almost like poker.
yeah,
It's almost like chess. It's like these games are inherently not fun to play unless you understand how to play the game.
yeah. At least in TFT, you're not losing money.
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
I was like kind of playing with the idea of that. I was like, like a TFT money tournament would actually be kind of interesting, where it's like you pay a pot to play, and like
yeah,
kind of like Elo. You know what I mean? Like if you place fifth, you lose $10. If you place fourth, you get $10. You know, like something like that. Like that would actually be
yeah.
kind of interesting because I
I
feel
think
like.
that's
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry. No, I was just gonna say I think this is like what other competitive games have over TFT or like even League, where like local tournaments for money, it drastically like improves competitiveness and like drastically improves people wanting to learn how to play the game if there's like a big reward for higher placement. Like yeah, we get the little legend at the end of the season, but like I don't know, like growing up playing Smash, getting first place for like $20, I'm like, hell yeah, man. Like I'm gonna keep playing, I'm gonna keep learning, I'm gonna, look up the hit boxes and stuff, and like I'm gonna learn how to play this game. But like for most people, you're playing for a higher rank and that's kinda it.
Yeah, were you in the competitive scene for Smash? Like, were you in local
Yeah.
tournaments? And
Yeah,
tell
like
me about
just a little bit, yeah.
yeah, tell me about that. What's that like?
Um
Because I've
it
always
was
wanted to
really
get into
sweaty.
Smash. I just didn't have a cube. I didn't have friends who played Smash, so
Uh
it wasn't the right environment for me to get into it. But I'm curious.
yeah.
Like, tell me about that.
It was really sweaty and smelly. I don't know if you've ever been
Gross.
to a gaming like convention, uh, but Smash players are notoriously sweaty and smelly.
Gross. Okay. Good
you
start.
know, uh, but the Smash competitive scene is in a lot of ways it's a lot like TFT where the community helps each other. There's a lot of great resources. Um, but like once you're up there, it can get pretty cutthroat and salty because there's nothing like sitting next to a guy who you could see is on the brink of fucking losing it. Like the whole controller smash down, like the knee slaps,
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But I think that's like where a lot of my gaming has come from, like just or even like cooking, just like knowing. I don't know. I don't know. I lost my train of thought there.
You're talking about sweaty, like being sweaty in a competition.
Yeah. Sorry. Um, just like learning and growing as a player, and like it might take you a while to learn how to play, but that doesn't mean you're not like advancing. Like it took me a while to learn how to cook, but it doesn't mean every day I wasn't trying. I wasn't, putting in the grind to do it. Like every day I'd hop on Smash, practice for 12 hours and then hop off. Like, like that's just what I did, and I eventually got like good enough that I'd start winning money in tournaments. And that's how I approach TFT and cooking. Like, I just smash my face into the grind until I either see results or I play 50 games and I lose LP. But like, either way, I'm trying to get better.
Yeah, I think here's the interesting thing, right? Is I feel like in a lot of ways TFT is kind of like cooking in the sense of skill gap, where
Hmm.
it's extremely hard to know the difference in skill.
Right.
I feel like you and I could like we can walk down the street of Toronto because we for you guys who don't know, we actually live in the same remote location. We're gonna go
Yeah.
see Nair soon.
Hell yeah.
We could walk down the streets of Toronto. We can pass by like a food stall. We can get like some fucking empanadas or dumplings, right?
Oh,
And you and
sounds
I
so
can
good.
look at it and be like, this person actually spent like 10 years making this. That's
Yeah.
how good this is, right?
Yeah.
But for the regular person, they wouldn't even be able to tell.
Can I just say street food is the best food?
Street food's the best.
Sorry, just now I'm hungry.
It's all good, man. I wish I could do this with food. Um, it's street food is the best food, like without a doubt, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
absolutely.
But going back on this topic, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to TFT, it's so hard. And again, like this could be because of like the end screen results, how there's
Hmm.
so little to gauge on how you're doing versus actual other players. It's like it's so easy for you to just like look at somebody and be like, oh, they're running this comp's broken, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then when you try it, it's like you just don't hit.
Yeah.
You just don't get lucky. You don't. It doesn't happen, right? And it's like there's so much going on within this game
Hmm.
that I feel like there's not enough discussion and there's not enough explanation of what's actually happening. Like what decisions are actually being broken down, what decisions are players actually making, and I wish I knew. I wish I knew more. I wish I knew enough to like fully articulate these things because this is all
Yeah.
like tip of the tongue, off the cuff kind of things for me. Because it's like, do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Absolutely.
you and I can eat like pasta, and we can be like, wow, whoever made that pasta was actually really fucking good,
Wow, they
right?
salted their water.
And not just that. It's like, wow, they used a different variation of flour blend.
Yeah.
They actually used very old laminating process for the pastas. People who don't cook
Yeah.
aren't going to understand this, right? Like,
Yeah.
wow, their emulsification of the sauce is actually really good. Like, we can break down all these techniques, we can break down all of these principles, all these foundations, and
Hmm.
that equates to like, wow, higher appreciation, but also demonstration of skill. And I
Right.
feel like
Yeah.
when it comes to TFT, it's like I don't see that conversation happening with a lot of players or with a lot of play styles. And I
Yeah.
guess like what I'm really dissatisfied with right now is the amount of people that are just saying like, oh, Dragon Slayer, Dragon Slayers and Dravens and Jaxes are just broken. It's like,
Yeah.
well, if it's broken, then why don't you play it?
Right. Yeah. Or when I do play, I just don't hit because everyone else is running it.
Well, it's like, well, how are the other people hitting then?
Yeah.
Right? And like this is the tough part, right? Like this is the tough part, which like how do you tell somebody that their food sucks and they need to get better?
Well, I mean, I just tell them that their food sucks and they need to get better. But like, there's probably a more tactful way of doing it. Like, there's, oh, you could add this. You can try this. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hi. Uh,
Yeah, we're good. Keep going.
sorry. Yeah, there's probably a more tactful way of doing it where uh, you could try adding this. Maybe like just, I don't know, being nicer about it. Not, I don't know.
Sure, but like, how do you do that in TFT without being
Um,
an enormous asshole?
uh, I
And this is what I'm struggling with right now too. I don't have the answers here, right? This is what
yeah,
I'm struggling with. Is that everybody? No, I won't say everybody, but a large portion of people are just complaining about the game, and they're not actually putting in the work to really understand it or learn it.
yeah, I know. Like, I see a lot of people complaining in the Discord, and I'm just like, I don't know, just hit. And that's kind of all you got to say in the Discord, but like to actually understand um, how to get better is hard. You know, it is
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. So let me ask you then. Maybe like you'll just be my guinea pig for this podcast. Like,
Go
what
for
is
it.
it about scouting that you think you have problems with?
You know, I just, the only time I know scouting matters for me is when it's like top four. Like, I I can scout when it's top four, but like I think I just get so lost in the sauce of scouting at like when there's 8 people on board and I don't know who I'm fighting against next. And I know there's like a way to figure out who you're fighting against next, but like I'm just like it doesn't matter. I can just slam these pieces on the board until it's top four. And then when it's top four, I'm like, okay, now it's time to, kind of buckle down, scout, see where to like position my unit so my Kale doesn't get insta gibbed by a Diana or whatever. Like, but it's too much work at 8 people on the board, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying. It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So let me follow up with what are you looking for when you're scouting?
For me, I I'm looking for like positions. Like, I know I should be scouting to see like at 8 people, like I should be scouting to see what other people are running, like if they're running the same comp as me. But like, God, I just don't care if they are or not. I just don't care if they're contesting me because I'm gonna hit first. That's the only mindset I have when people are contesting me is I'll just hit first. And then yeah, like when I'm actually scouting, I'm just looking for positions.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think for me, trying to figure
What
out
do you look for when you scout?
how I can put this. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can describe this. So let's bring this back to like cooking,
Okay.
right? When it comes to like service,
Mm-hmm.
what separates really good cooks from really bad cooks is their awareness of what's going on during service and their flexibility,
Right.
right? So like the idea of like I'm able to execute on 3 different appetizers while I'm also working on this one dish that requires somebody else to finish
Right.
and managing the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? In order to do this, like we were saying earlier, like from our conversation, you need to have some sort of competency within your
Yeah.
skills to actually just pull off the dish to begin with.
Yeah.
Like if you're struggling to just put together like one particular salad, there's no way you're going to stick your head up and understand what's going on during service,
Sorry,
right?
I was just thinking about my first job working salad and struggling so much.
Tell me about it. Let's go. Yeah, let's talk
It
about it.
was
I worked guard too. Yeah, I worked guard.
oh, I don't know. It was my first cooking job, like actual cooking job. Like I was a dishwasher before, but like they just set me up. They're like, here's this book. Here's all the recipes in the book. You're working salads. You're working pantry. Get to it. And I don't. I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. I just remember being so excited, and at the end of the shift, thinking I never wanted to cook again.
It's just completely destroyed and demoralized.
Like, I don't know how it happened, being completely covered in flour while working salads. Like, I
It
like
happens. It happens, right? It's like
it
this
was
is
just
what I mean, right? This is what I mean. Like you need to have the fundamentals down
yeah.
because you can't be focusing on the fundamentals.
Well,
Like
like here's the thing now. Like if I like look down the line and I see the rookie, um, doing salads and he's struggling, and I have time, I'm gonna hop down there and I'm gonna help him, right? Like if I have time, but like, if
sure,
not,
but like
he
what
can
also
struggle.
happens, right? Is like let's say you're working pans, right?
Yeah,
What also happens that is if you see that, if you know that apps are going to be coming out later, that means you slow down on everything. So that
yeah,
means you turn down the heat on your pans, you slow down like maybe reductions you're making, maybe you hold
yeah,
off on searing something, you adjust,
yeah,
right? But you're not able to make these adjustments if you don't actually understand how to do the dish from start to finish,
yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Like order of operations, going back to like our chicken parmesan analogies, like you wouldn't know to
Yeah,
hold off on the bread if you didn't know how to do the whole dish from front to back, because
and
you wouldn't know how to play with the timing.
I think that's where like a lot of like line cooks struggle as well. Is they're just out for themselves.
For sure.
You
For
know,
sure. Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
oh, if fucking Johnny's behind, it's not my fault. He can
Yeah.
be stuck in the weeds all he wants.
But
Like
it affects you too.
it absolutely does. Like you can complain all service that you were ready for your apps to go out, but like if salad's behind, then you should slow down. You should get him up to speed, or at least get to his speed and not just try to push things out ahead of schedule.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. So what I'm saying is that if you don't scout, you're exactly like that line cook who's never putting his head up.
oh god.
Right. What I'm saying is that like the lobby is a symbiotic relationship. The
Yeah,
lobby plays off each other, right?
right.
And if you never look up to just gauge the lobby, you won't be able to understand the little adjustments you need to make in your game,
Okay.
right? That's how I
Okay.
see it. Now, again, like I'm cautious because I'm not the best player. I'm a
Yeah,
new player who's competitive, and I'm trying to decipher this game into basic fundamentals that I can understand and that I can actually communicate, so we can talk about this game on a deeper level,
well, it
right?
makes sense. Yeah, no, I absolutely I agree that it makes
Just
sense.
just want to preface for like the 5 challenger players I know that are going to be listening to this.
You're gonna be like, what the fuck are these two talking about?
Yeah, right. So I want to be very careful. I want to be very
Yeah,
careful, right? But here's how I see it: is that the whole lobby plays together and they impact each other, right?
right.
If you're not looking up, if you're not scouting to gauge the lobby, you'll never know what little adjustments you should be making or you can make, right? So I think the first thing is like one, just one trick a comp.
Right, yeah.
Like I feel like did you just like step outside or something?
No, sorry. I was just adjusting where my mic was.
Okay,
Is
okay,
it
okay.
like worse?
It's a little bit worse, yeah.
All right. Hold on.
Hello?
Is this better?
Uh I hear like a fan in the background, but that's okay. That's fine.
Oh, 1 second then. Sorry, man.
No worries, it's all good. One day I'll have a studio. One day I'll have a Joe Rogan studio of my own. Hello, hello.
Hi. Okay, sorry. I was just turning off the fan. Is
It's
it
all
better?
good. It's all good. Yeah, way better. Perfect.
All
So
right.
Yeah, like I think the first thing is you gotta learn one comp. Like
Right.
you have to know the comp, right? And
Yeah.
people give one tricking a really bad rep, but I don't think the people who rag on one triggers actually understand the depth of knowledge you need to know one comp to pull it off every time.
Yeah. I think the thing is, like, one tricking a comp will actually probably better teach you how to play. Like, if you're one tricking a comp, you're at least kind of understanding, oh, this is where my Kale should go. This is where my Knights should go. Like, oh, Tark's probably better next to, your Garen and your Darius or like whatever. You know? Like, you're actually kind of like, for me, I like looked at the spreadsheet, right? And I saw the Kale comp. I'm like, okay, well, let's play around with this. And the first time I played it, I got absolutely smashed. Like, because I didn't understand, exactly what Verdant did for some reason. Like, I didn't understand that, you should put your Kale and Tark kind of not together, but like making sure that they get the Verdant buff together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Do
might be
they actually need
completely
to be
talking out of
beside
my
each other?
ass.
I thought the Verdant itself, like I thought Kale gives herself the buff.
I don't think she does.
Interesting.
Yeah. I might be completely talking out of my ass though.
Maybe, but you're not wrong in the sense that I firmly believe that you need to stick with one comp long enough to actually like understand the comp,
Yeah.
right? But I think
Yeah.
like the most important part is that you need to build a level of proficiency with the comp to the point where you're not focusing on pulling off the comp anymore.
Hmm.
This is what I think is like the biggest hump. This is like the equivalent of, I would say, going from lock to unlock camera in League.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if you have to spend all of your 30 seconds thinking about the comp, you don't know it well enough to focus on the other areas of the game.
Yeah. I think and like one tree a comp, I think I think it has a lot to do with transference of skills. Like, it's like you said, like, time management in cooking, can correlate to time management in TFT, but you have to like really focus on like transferring those skills to one thing to another. Like, I don't know, like, just some people don't get transference of skills. Do you get what I'm saying? Or like, am I
I
just
do, but
completely
I'm going to challenge you to explain it for the people at home.
okay? So it's like, um, your time management in the kitchen. You have so long to only do a certain thing, right? Like in TFT, where you only have 30 seconds to roll down, like look at your comp, know where to position, all this stuff. In cooking, you may only have like 30 seconds to sear something and then move on to your next dish and turn down your pans and like, well, not turn down your pans, but you know what I mean. You could probably explain this so much better than I could.
See, I would explain it differently because, like,
Yeah.
yes, transference of skills exists in TFT, but I think it's more predominant across sets. But I
Mhm.
think that's also just mastery of fundamentals. What I
Yeah.
think the biggest advantage of of one tricking a comp is that you actually create set variables in a game that's just completely all variables, right?
Yeah.
Like the games, for lack of a better word, the game is just random. The game is RNG,
Yeah.
right? So by one tricking a comp, what you're doing is that you're creating set variables in a game that pretty much does not give a fuck and will give you whatever it wants. And what
Hmm.
this does is this actually creates structure for you to learn, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to learn something if it changes every time.
Right.
It's incredibly difficult, right?
Hmm.
That's like learning how to cook, but the stove or the burner that you use changes every time,
Oh god, that'd be
right?
awful.
So
There's
you can't,
RNG to the fire.
yeah, so you can't gauge like the fire, you can't gauge the flame,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like it's something like this, I think, that really just stops people from learning, right? It's
Yeah.
like I always get fascinated when people get bored with a comp, and it's like
Mhm.
I have yet to get bored with a comp because I always feel like there's so much I could learn. Like I played like 150 games of keepers to hit masters last set, and
Yeah.
I still feel like there was so much that I didn't know, like
That's
at all. Like
now that we're talking about one tricking comps, I don't know if you knew this or not. I actually have an entire side account called Force Bonk from the Wukong set where like you just force Wukong, and I think I played well over 1,000 games of Bonk and and hit like diamond something. Like I was awful at grinding it, but like
that's fucking
it,
sad.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
it
sorry.
was.
That's fucking.
It,
This fucking Mortdog. Mortdog said, and I don't know if I should be saying this. Mortdog said in staff chat that it's on average for the set, it's 111 games to masters, and everyone just felt instantly bad. They're just kind of like, oh, like, oh, I feel so trash, dude.
oh no!
I only played like 78 games this set, so I think I'm on track. I'm like deeply right now, but
I have no idea what I'm at. Like it is, like I said, I just smash my face into the mountain of the grind until I get where I want to go. So I
yeah, I look. I think not being afraid to do that is really great, but I
yeah,
don't think that works for a lot of people,
no,
especially
like you
people who
should
have limited time.
definitely learn how to play the game. Don't just smash your face into the mountain.
Yeah, yeah. But let's go back to the scouting thing because I want to see if we can
Okay,
talk about this on a level where maybe it'll click for you, or I don't know. Like I'm not a coach, right? But I
right.
feel like there's a discussion here, and I'm hoping like best case scenario, somebody leaves me an angry comment or message me on Discord and actually like tells me more about scouting so I can learn and actually share with other people, right? But here's my thing is that if you don't stick your head up to learn what the lobby's doing,
Yeah.
you're not going to play to your best,
Hmm.
right? And I feel like every time you scout, you should be looking for something in particular because you don't have a lot of time. So you can't do like a full analysis on every single person in the lobby, which is
Right.
what I think you're doing,
Okay.
right? So I have a few distinct scouts that I will do, right? So at the beginning of the game, like stage 2, I'm
Hmm.
purely scouting like just positioning. Like I'm just trying to avoid threshes, I'm just trying to avoid assassins, I'm just trying to position the best possible
Right.
in
And
order
I
to
think
win.
that's where I'm stuck. I'm going to be honest. I'm just looking for Thresh, Zephyr, and Assassins. And that's it.
Yeah, which is fine, right? Like that's
Yeah.
fine, right? The first scout's just for positioning, right? It's just like
Hmm.
sifting through everybody and trying to find the best positioning that will fit the mold,
Right.
right? Now, I do think learning how to track is really important.
Right.
If you don't
Yeah. Like,
know, if you're not tracking, your positioning, your scouting in terms of how to reposition goes down in effectiveness by a lot.
tracking's the like knowing who you're playing next, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want me to explain it to you briefly?
Go for it, my dude.
Okay. So I could be wrong, right?
Mhm.
I'll link a Giant Slayer article in the description that talks about it more in depth, and I'm sure there's a bunch of players who understand it more than I do. But this is how it works. So out of 7 players,
Mhm.
right, the last 4 players you face, you will not face them again,
Okay.
which means that there are 3 potential players that you will face next.
Right.
Now, what happens when a player dies is that their place in the queue gets taken up by a ghost,
Right.
and the ghost could be any player.
Mm-hmm.
So what this means is you're basically tracking the last 4 people you've played, and if one of them is a ghost.
Right. Okay.
This is how
Is
you
there?
predict who you're going to be facing next.
Okay. Okay. So, quick question about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, does going into carousel affect those odds at all?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Neat.
As far as what I know as well, the round reset does not do anything as well at the same time.
Okay.
Right.
Because I feel like I've definitely fought someone, gone into carousel, and then immediately fought them again, and I'm like, wow, I just took 2 back-to-back losses.
Probably was a ghost.
Maybe, yeah,
Again, I could be wrong on this.
yeah.
Right. However, right,
Hmm.
I feel like not tracking severely limits your ability to scout and reposition. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's go back into like what I'm doing for scouting, because I'm trying to talk to players about this and figure out what they're doing, and I'm trying to make it the best. But
Hmm.
take it with a grain of salt, right? So the first scout I will do is the positioning scout,
Hmm.
right? The next scout that I will do is I will do the item scout.
Right,
So early game, like we're talking stage 2, stage 3, you typically can't tell what they're going to do based on the units they're playing because they're just playing whatever they can get.
right.
What you want to look at is the items.
Oh, so like Shroud and Zephyr and or
No,
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 like
no.
their actual items.
The items they slammed.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So, for example, right, if you see a guy who's slammed like a bunch of AD items, he's
Yeah,
probably going to be playing an AD carry,
right.
right? If you see a guy that's slamming a bunch of AP items, like he's got Jeweled Gauntlet already, right? Like he's got tier, like he could be going Karma,
Hmm.
right?
Okay,
Like the item scout is to gauge and predict what the lobby's playing,
okay.
right? So
Make,
again, like I'm doing this specifically to get one piece of information that's going to help me make decisions later on in the game,
right.
right? I'm not trying to do full analysis of everybody when there's 8 people in the lobby and it's early in the game. Like I don't think that's feasible, or you got to be like an insanely good player to be able to pull that off, right? I'm just talking about like small tangible things you can do when you're scouting. You
Yeah,
got to just peek your head up and look around and see what's happening,
yeah. Okay.
right? Why the item scout is important is because you can tell if you're going to be contested or how many people are going to be doing the same comp.
Right.
Like right now, I guarantee you, if they have like Hurricane, if they have Hurricane Bloodthirster, like if they have Hurricane Quicksilver, they're probably going Jax,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that also means too is like if you're running Jax, right, that determines the tempo at which you need to play the game now,
Right.
right? There's a difference of like, so, stage 3. Do you greed for more gold and roll down on 7 at 4-1, or do you go on 7 on like 3-5 and start rolling down,
Hmm.
right? These are all like the small decisions that impact your game, which you need more information to really make.
Hmm. Okay. So I'm actually just trying to take this all in. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't expect to get like a whole learning session, but this is great. This is fantastic.
No, I mean, like, walk me through what's going in your mind, because open discourse.
I never thought about looking at their items, like to seeing what they're slamming and going, oh, they're gonna go Jax. I just never thought about it.
Yeah, it's like this is what I mean by like you need to one trick and understand what your game plan is first before you can scout
Yeah,
effectively. Because if you understand what items you're going, you can identify when other people are playing the same thing as you, right?
yeah,
And then as you like learn more and more, you'll be able to predict like what other people are going to be going as well. Like there's only like what 3 champions that really use blue buff
yeah.
right now, right?
Brand, Karma, um,
Katarina.
Oh yeah,
Dark
Katarina.
blue buff, LeBlanc, right? Like
Oh yeah.
limiting the possibilities by for that's the thing about slamming, right? It's like slamming is like you're limiting your future possibilities to gain advantage early, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So once you slam something, you've committed to it. You're committing to that direction. So
hmm
looking at what people are slamming gives you a really good idea of like what they're playing,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if you see that half of the lobby is going AP, like maybe you should start just holding mystics now.
Yeah. I think that's what made chosens so easy to scout with, is because most of the time, like at lower elos, if someone got a chosen, they were just gonna stick with the chosen. you know, like I could see, oh, that guy got a Yasuo, he's gonna go duelist.
Yeah. I mean, learning how to ditch the chosen and pivot was really hard for me, but
yeah.
I definitely feel that. Like, there's definitely the temptation to like stick with one of the chosens.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how I hit masters. I grinded out Ash Hunters, and and I'd always just pivot at like level 7, ditch my chosen, roll fully down, grab chosen Ash, slam her in, and that's how I got masters in set 4.
yeah, sounds pretty accurate. I mean, that was pretty much my game plan with keepers too.
yeah.
But going back on this tangent, right? It's like it's a game of information,
hmm
right? And I feel like see it's interesting to me that this is the first time you're learning about this or you're hearing about this, right? And I'm definitely like not the best player, right?
yeah.
But I feel like there's more to this game than we're actually giving credit for, and there's more to this game that has become maybe like too cemented in better players for them to properly articulate, because as you develop mastery, fundamentals become solidified. You don't think about it anymore. Like when we cook, we don't think about the fundamentals anymore. We just fucking like
Yeah. We just do it.
dice down. You want small or medium? Like
Yeah.
we just do it, right?
Yeah.
So
2 centimeter
I
or 5 centimeter?
say again.
2 centimeter or 5 centimeter?
Yeah, right. And then like the average cook just thinks about them like I don't even know how to do 2 centimeter, 5 centimeter. Like what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
fundamentals are so important, but I don't think there's enough discord around them to
hmm
to really identify and talk about these things, right? Like when you when I watch like when I watch challenger players play,
hmm
sometimes they do the sneakiest things that are like that's really surprising. Like I'll tell you like you know what Soju does a lot? Soju will like he will wait at the last second to
hmm
level to put a unit in before the
Okay.
fight starts. He will wait at the last second, right?
Huh. Okay, that makes kind of sense. That, like, to throw off the opponent he's going against next.
Yeah. Yeah, like he will wait. Like he'll level and then he'll stop one click before he levels. And he'll wait. And he'll wait till like 2 seconds and then he'll level and they put the unit in. And it's like at that level of play, like
yeah.
everybody's looking for information. Everybody's trying to scout. And I feel like we don't pay enough attention to like the little banners, like when somebody
Oh
levels or
yeah.
when somebody starts a unit. Like I feel like those things, having that awareness of paying attention to those things, what's happening in the game, is
hmm
really what's going to separate like a good player from a great player,
Yeah.
right?
Now
And
here's the counter.
okay, go
Okay,
ahead. Yeah.
there's a player like me who doesn't scout and doesn't give a fuck if Soju levels at the last second. That it doesn't matter if he leveled at the last second if I'm not paying attention to it.
Well, this is what I mean. It's like then you fight him and he beats you, and you don't really know why,
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, yeah. True. True.
right?
Yeah.
It's tough because there's like I feel like there's a level of seriousness to this game
Yeah.
that not a lot of people want to play at. And I
Mhm.
don't know if it's because there's just not enough awareness around it, and we just resort to these small excuses like BG I didn't hit. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
if like they just don't want to try that hard.
Yeah, I think the
And it's exhausting.
BGBG
Like
is like
it's not the easiest. It's exhausting, right? Like I don't want you
yeah,
guys to think like I'm trying this hard in every game, which I do try to aspire to, but at the same time, like I'm also pacing myself trying to play like 3 to 5 games a day. Like I couldn't do this for like 10 hours straight. It's too
yeah,
much.
yeah. I think the BGBG isn't like an excuse. I think it's just where people kind of give up and they're just tired of, losing and they're like, I need something to blame that isn't me.
So like an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess so, yes.
Like look,
uh,
like I don't want to start this conversation and make it feel like I'm blaming everybody because I get it. Like there are some games where I really want to play, but I'm also like, no,
yeah.
I'm too tired. I don't have enough energy. It's not going to go well,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
game, this like, it's kind of like cooking. Like it's literally it's kind of like cooking. Like there are some dishes where you could just wing. Like you can just go front to back and just throw shit on the pan and like make it work and it'll be great,
Yeah.
right? And
Like
then
risotto.
like risotto, yeah, it's
Yeah.
as long as you're just stirring, you're fine,
Yeah.
right? And then there are some dishes where like you play your heart and soul out. You know what I mean? Like you sweat like the millimeter, like this mirepoix needs to be perfect. You're
Yeah.
like I want this to be perfect. Like you practice making the sauce over and over and over again to fine tune it and get it to where it needs to be. Like
Hmm.
maybe it's just like I'm that type of person that wants to play on that level.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I feel like that information needs to be out there to give those people the opportunity to play on that level too.
I think a lot of people are thirsty for the information. It's just it's hard to get it.
What do you mean by that?
I think like the Discord coaches are doing a great service by allowing free coaching. But a lot of players don't know to come to the Discord to get coaching. You know, like a lot of players don't even know that the TFT Discord exists. Like I think there's like
Yeah.
a lot of players that do, and it's when you look up TFT guides or whatever, you're getting like Mobalytics, maybe a couple YouTube videos, stuff like that. But there's not really an in-depth way of helping players who want the information right away, other than knowing where to get it.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the things that I'm trying to turn player diff into is I'm trying to make it like the hub for competitive information. And
Hmm.
what I'm struggling with is really just trying to figure out like what are the building block fundamentals of this game and how do we teach them in a way that is very that promotes awareness and not just like direction following.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. Like I said before, I think coaching is the one way to understand not just direction following, but actually understanding the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even like coaching someone is like the best way to learn the game yourself, if that
Yeah, I
makes sense.
I would agree with that. No, I think being able to take something you know and boiling it down to a set of instructions
Hmm.
or words is probably the best way to learn something. One of the quotes that I really love that's very dear to my heart is the person who values the most from writing a book is not the reader, but the author.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's so true. I think that's like we gain clarity through articulation, and maybe that's why like I'm so bent on making this podcast happen, is because I'm just reiterating and gaining clarity on my own thoughts and my own understandings for the podcast. And maybe that's like it's extremely selfish, but at the same time, right? Like
No, I think you're helping like a lot of people by doing it, though. I think that's the difference.
I hope
That's
so.
the player difference.
I it's so corny, right? I love it. It's so corny. It's but like really like my aspiration really is that everybody who plays video games realizes that they're building a skill that is so valuable. This skill of instant motivation, instant determination, willingness to collaborate, willingness to take on unnecessary problems
Yeah.
and gather information and create tactics, create strategies, test those strategies and adapt. And what's almost disheartening for me is I don't see a lot of that within TFT right now.
Hmm.
It feels like everybody's just kind of following meta and just agreeing with meta and not
Yeah.
deciphering like why it's strong or why it's weak or experimenting. And maybe like I'm curious to talk to like Mortdog about this of like how liberal can we be with the experimentation in TFT?
Hmm. I think it would help a lot if there was like, I don't know, like a custom game mode for TFT where you could like just go in and experiment with units and things, like how they have it in like League with the custom games or the
Yeah, the
practice
practice
team.
tool.
Yeah, like for TFT, that would help so much. Like I came on the Discord the other day, and I'm just like, well, if Trundle A ults Trundle B, and then Trundle B ults Trundle A, who gets more stats? I'm like, I have no idea, but it would be just so much easier if I could go into a practice tool, set two Trundles up, like facing each other, and being like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
So
that's what
I,
happens.
I actually had this discussion on another episode of like whether or not TFT should have a practice tool, and I feel like yeah, there's merits to it being beneficial, but at the same time, it could all like it would also lead to the set being solved a lot sooner.
But isn't that what you kind of want? Like, don't you want it to be solved so we get instant, like, players would get instantly better?
See, that's a tough call for a game developer, right? Like for a game developer, you want people to keep playing the game. But if it
Hmm.
instantly gets solved, what happens is that there's a large player base that just abuses how it was solved. And then
Hmm.
the majority of the player base, which is not as competitive, finds it extremely unfun.
Right.
So, from a competitive standpoint, from a competitive player, it'd be fucking great, right? I think as a game developer, probably not so much. And again, like I could be wrong about this, and I'd love to talk to somebody from the TFT design team about this.
Hmm.
Um, but you actually mentioned something about theory crafting. It's like I remember. I think it's Jim. I think it's Jim Ray. Uh, please tell me it's Jim Ray. Hold on. Let me just take a quick look. Yeah, it's Jim Ray. So Jim Ray's a coach on the TFT Discord server, and he does theory crafting in staff chat a lot. And I'm like, I was trying to look at the numbers. And I'm like, okay, let me try and understand what you're doing here exactly. And like, it felt like I was back in like high school, like learning algebra for the first time.
Yeah.
Like being like, so this is attack damage percentage, right? But definitely like theory crafting is something that I feel like is not taught or is not shared how to do.
Yeah.
And that's actually something like I'm interested in uh, looking into for player diff, because eventually we're going to have to like monetize in some way, right? And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like creating these courses on like really valuable gaming skills. Um,
Right.
I'm genuinely interested because I've had a lot of people ask me like if I could teach them how I see social interactions as a game. Um,
Hmm.
and that's kind of like what I would like to delve into more for player diff is like if we created a course on like how to theory craft and the importance of theory craft, how to actually run the numbers, check if it works, and like I don't know, would you be interested in something like that?
I would. The only problem I feel like with TFT or in like League in general with courses like that is it's an ever changing game, you know? Like I don't know, it'd be hard with the patch notes unless you're teaching just straight up fundamentals.
It would have to be straight up fundamentals.
Yeah, it's just ever changing. But I do want to just go back quickly
Yeah,
to um the solving the game thing.
sure.
So I was thinking about this the entire time you were talking, so I'm sorry.
That's fine.
um like so going back to Smash Bros. Smash Brothers Melee,
Yep.
like incredibly solid competitive scene, right?
Yep.
Everyone, for a long time thought it was solved. Like Fox top tier, Falco top tier, blah 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 blah. We Marth top tier. Recently, there's been a massive meta shift in where people are taking Sheik into I think it's Fox matchup. I haven't played Smash competitively in a very long time. But like where there's a massive meta shift and where like maybe 10 years since like there's just been a 10-year like gap in this development. We're taking Sheik into Fox matchups. And I feel like it changes the competitive scene drastically, but Smash Brothers Melee is still Smash Brothers Melee for the casual audience. It's still a game where you pick up and you throw items at your friends and like play with the Pokeballs and just smash your friends into oblivion. So I'm curious on solving the set and how that does affect regular players. You know?
I think we're kind of starting to see it now, right? It's like I feel like when it comes to solving the set for a regular player, there's a sense of hopelessness, right?
Mm.
It's like everybody's going skirmishers. I have four people going skirmishers in this lobby. The top four players are all skirmishers, and whether they're conscious of it or not, I'm not a good enough player to contest with them, so I automatically lose.
Why wouldn't but I think why wouldn't the player just run like knights then? Or play the comp that, counters skirmishers?
Huh?
Like there's
You know,
there's going to be like a massive circle of counterbalance and like overpowered, and there's going to be like it's like the Sheik and Fox matchup where Sheik I think it's Sheik and Fox where Sheik counters Fox and like there's always going to be the pick and bans and like stuff like that.
you got a point. Like I don't think I have the answer on this. I can only imagine, right?
Yeah.
I can only imagine, but I feel like when it would come to you got a point how like the meta is always whatever counters the meta,
Yeah.
right? So that tactic's like still available. Like that's
Mhm.
still an option, right? However, when I feel like when a set is solved, right? What happens now is that either you play by the book or you
Mhm.
just get crushed.
Right. Okay.
if that makes sense, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
like
it does.
it's like in Smash when Mewtwo King started to learn frame data,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Once he started to learn frame data, what happened is that he would crush everybody else. And
Hmm.
the only way to actually have a fighting chance against him is to actually play the most viable move according to frame data.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
I understand.
I'm no longer doing get up attack from the ledge because it comes out too slow.
Right.
And every time I do that, I will get punished.
Yeah.
Right. Now when you play a game like Smash, I feel like there's so much user error, there's so much skill expression just for pure micro mechanics that
Yeah.
you have more leeway into it.
Hmm.
Right. I feel like with a game like TFT though, it's like everybody's
More
just gonna
macro.
slam this and go with this opener.
Yeah, it's more macro. Huh.
But I could be wrong, right? I would like to hope, like I really hope it does not happen. I would like to hope that there's always going to be options to counter it. There's always going to be new metas evolving, right?
Yeah. But that's what I was saying about like the matchup with like a 10-year gap between, like there's always hope for evolution in a game.
For
Like
sure.
I don't think once you solve the set, I don't think it's solved. I think it just has to evolve beyond what you've solved.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. That really is.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like that's the weird thing about TFT, right? It's kind of like this giant this giant zeitgeist of everybody sharing their opinions and
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, it is an ever evolving game. It's like it's a living game, other than like, Smash Bros. Melee is an actual set game, whereas TFT is ever living.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I think like why don't we do a quick pivot here and then we can start wrapping up.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm curious. Like you mentioned, your whole grinding strategy is slamming your head through the wall and trying to see if you can make a dent.
Yeah.
I'm curious on like how you deal with tilt.
Um, Tilting is, it's gonna sound crazy, and I just don't tilt at TFT. Like, yeah, I get frustrated if I bought 4 or like go 8 and I've done everything correct. Yeah, that's very frustrating. But I just get up, take a small walk, get a coffee, come back, slam another 5 games. You know, like I'm like looking at my match history right now. I've played like 25 games in the past 2 days. Like, I don't know. It's just, it. I don't think I get tilted at the aspects around League or around TFT, not at TFT itself. If that makes sense. Like, I'm not, like, I get tilted at players and not comps.
What do you mean by that?
Like, like I'm trying to think of how to best put this. I don't know. There's just some things that players do that annoy me in game, like, running up on your opponent. I don't know what about it tilts me, but like if you move your little legend beside me as you're winning, I hate it. I hate it so much. It Ooh, it tilts me to oblivion. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
one thing that,
so like my emote spam works then is what you're saying? Like
yeah,
carefully
I think
selected
I
5
think
emotes.
emote spam, spam taunting, and like running up beside your opponent actually does tilt them, and I think there's a lot of strategy involved in that. Like, I think we as a community need to focus on tilting our opponents.
No, funny enough, like I feel like I'm one of the very rare individuals that like actually use emotes in TFT. Maybe
I
it's for that. Maybe it's for that psychological edge, but
Yeah, no, like for sure, there's a massive edge to getting in someone's head and making them dreading seeing your board. You know, I think that's what I also think that's what the beach board does to me as well. Just seeing the beach board tilts me. I don't know why. I'm just like, this shouldn't be in the game.
You're just weird. You're just weird. You're just tilted from things that don't make sense at all to be tilted by. You're just weird, dude. But here's what I will say is that I'm in the similar camp
Yeah.
where I don't really get tilted.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I get frustrated, but I don't really get tilted. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that has to do with me taking a lot of breaks because I'm like pretty liberal. Like
Hmm.
when I'm trying to climb, like I'm pushing and I'm spending a lot of brain power. So it only
Yeah.
makes the most sense for me to take like 10-15 minute breaks and like to
Hmm.
rejuvenate some like blood glucose, you know what I mean? Like give my brain some energy
Yeah.
back.
I think that's where we differ because I'm just mindlessly smashing, and you're actually thinking. you know?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think like I think tilt also comes from this. I feel like tilt has a level of hopelessness to it,
Yeah.
where if you feel like you're in control and you know specific things that you could have done better, I
Hmm.
don't really see you tilting, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of players tilt through not knowing as well. Like just getting frustrated in losing and not knowing how you lost sucks.
It sucks. Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah. Or like I don't know, losing to someone who is contesting you does suck. But like I think of LP as a resource as well, and I think that helps a lot. Where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get this LP back anyways. It doesn't matter for me. Whereas I think a lot of people think of LP as like really valuable.
Yeah, I think see that's interesting because ranked anxiety is interesting to me because
Hmm.
a lot of people are scared to like drop or like as soon as I feel that because I felt it like a couple times like when I peaked diamond the first time when I peaked masters
Yeah,
I feel like as soon as that happens you need to move on to like an alt account to get over
yeah,
that edge but at the same time like maybe I'm just like too much of a novice player but like I feel like ultimately you will end up where you deserve to be and
absolutely,
it's not because like oh a specific patch is broken it's because you just didn't adapt.
absolutely, yeah. Not like just not understanding the game will put you where you're supposed to be. I think.
Yeah, and ultimately like this also happens over a long period of games, right? Like I think in Summoners Rift like normal league I think it's like 150 games of ranked before you actually get to where you're supposed to be.
Hmm. I think I think it was double lift. I was actually I either caught a clip of it at some point on live stream fails maybe or like something where he I think this is where my mindset for TFT came in where he said it doesn't matter how bad you are at league, you can grind enough games to get where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, that makes sense. I'm just gonna do that. Like it feels like it came from the top where I'm just like, oh, this is where what I'm supposed to do. And I get complete rank anxiety with league though. Like I can't play ranked league. It stresses me out too much, but ranked TFT I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is easy. I can do this.
I think like I just think league in general is just like a traumatizing experience in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
however, right? Like I feel like regardless, there's a volume of games that you have to get through,
Hmm.
regardless, right?
Yeah.
And that's why like I find it funny that some people especially at the beginning of the set. Like some people were stressing out that they didn't win streak their whole promos or their whole placements. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
it's curious to me because like, well, best case scenario, you get placed low gold. Worst case scenario, you get placed bronze. But you're gonna like if you can play, if you got fundamentals, you're gonna climb straight to plat like relatively
yeah.
quickly.
Like your MMR is going to be insane.
Yeah, like the difference is really going to be like 3 games at most, right?
Yeah. Uh, I remember playing on my alt accounts and straight up just skipping divisions. I'm like, oh, okay. I am actually kind of decent at this game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely been my experience too, right?
Yeah.
So I guess like the takeaway here really is like whether you're just spamming games or whether you're you want to be slow, methodical, and more I don't even know what the word for it is. I'm not trying to like hype myself
Thoughtful.
up. What'd you say?
Thoughtful about your gameplay.
Yeah, sure. Like, yeah, if you want to be more intentional with your games, right?
Yeah.
Like, both of those methods work, right? Obviously, both of us have gotten masters. We're not
Yeah.
the greatest players, but I'd say we're decent.
Yeah. I give myself a little bit of props for getting masters.
It feels good, right? It feels
It
good. And
does.
with that being said, like, I feel like anybody who actually has good fundamentals and just consistency and
Mm.
doesn't like tilt out of their mind can hit masters
Oh,
relatively
absolutely.
easy.
I think tilting is like the number one thing that stops players from getting anywhere.
Yeah, because they get scared and they don't want to play anymore. And then when they do play, like
Hmm.
sometimes they dismiss it as a loss right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who it is, and I don't want to call them out, but there's one player in general chat who's like every time it's like, oh, I got giant belt start. This is an eighth. And it's like it's just amazing because like one, not only in my opinion are they incredibly wrong, but
Yeah.
B, it's like you're almost like you're sinking the ship from the get go.
Yeah. Thinking negatively from straight one is awful. I think Giant Belt starts really good.
I
I
think it's amazing. I think Giant starts like hella strong.
Yeah, I remember in set 3 going brawlers, you'd always want to go Giant's Belt because you wanted like Sunfire Cape, mainly Sunfire Cape. I couldn't think of any other examples. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Warmugs right now is just like
Oh yeah.
instant
Warmogs.
streak.
Yeah.
However, right, I think ultimately like that's I really do think like tilt is the ultimate gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Like if you lose your cool, not only do you stop your progression, like not only do you stop your learning and you make excuses for why you can't be better,
Mm.
but you also like you put yourself in a bad mindset to actually like win the next game, right? If you don't
How
actually like allow yourself to reset, you're never going to be able to get out of the weeds.
how do you tell a player to stop tilting?
The problem with tilting is that you can't say stop tilting.
Yeah.
Like someone who's thinking negatively, you can't be like, oh, just think happy thoughts. It's like, wow, I
True.
didn't think about that,
True.
right?
But
Like
like,
the
how do you stop someone? Say I'm playing with a friend, right? How do I? And they always get mad that when they're playing with me, they're like, "Oh, you're just a luckier player. Whenever I play with you, I bought 4. Uh, you picked one of my champions, and I can't find the unit anymore, and you have a 2-star, and blah blah blah." How do you stop them or explain to them, you know, there's no reason to tilt over these things?
ooh, okay. So you remember that concept I had at the beginning? It's like outside of the game, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
I always start with that conversation
Hmm.
because if you're going to play this game competitively, I will give you the competitive answer.
Yeah,
And 9 out of 10 times you're not going to like it.
true.
Because 9 out of 10 times it's going to call you out for some inadequacy that you have.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
Right.
people are self-conscious about that, and they're going to get tilted even more.
Yeah. Like I do have this conversation with a lot of friends where it's like, I ask them, like, how seriously are you trying to take this game? Right.
Yeah.
And if it's anywhere remotely serious, right, I will tell them, like, your excuses are bullshit.
Hmm.
I don't consider this a luck based game at all.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there are things that you are clearly not doing that either you are unaware of or you are neglecting
Yeah.
that is giving you your results.
Yeah.
Right. And the problem is that this conversation is exhausting to have.
Yeah, I recently had this exact conversation. Like,
So tell me what you said. So walk me through yours, and then I'll tell you mine.
okay.
We can compare
Um,
notes and how we let others down gently or not at all.
I, it got to a boiling point where I was just she was going off on me. She's just calling me a luckier player and blah blah blah. I'm like, you gotta stop calling me a luckier player. Like, there is a reason I'm like ranked higher than you every single time, right? Like, it's not. Yes, luck has a factor into it, but I'm also reading the patch notes. I'm putting in work into playing this game. Like, yeah, like I said, I'm mindlessly smashing my face into the mountain, making a dent. But like, I am understanding what it is to, you know, play this game. And yeah, I'm trying to teach you how to play this game, but like, like it, you have to understand, you have to read the patch notes, you have to put in the work to understanding this game. Like, it was just kind of a brutal conversation to have with someone where they just always blamed luck, and I had to explain to them, no, I'm putting in more work than you see, and you should put in the work too if you want to be better. They did not like that. I'll be honest
Yeah,
with you.
that's why I always ask how seriously you're trying to take the game,
Yeah,
right? It's to avoid that
yeah,
scenario where it's like you're basically just telling them you're better. And like the sad part is, like, we were talking about, like, BG just hit and get good, and like
mhm.
the sad part is, like, it's not wrong.
No,
Ultimately, at the end of the day, like, get good is like the answer,
yeah,
right?
but I
It
think
doesn't
the difference
it,
was I'm telling them I'm better because I'm putting in the work that they're not putting in.
yeah, yeah. I think, like, this is actually the rare scenario where backseating is actually the proper answer.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you why, right? Because when friends ask me that,
hmm.
I have a really bad habit of answering with questions. So I ask them every turn, how many decisions do you consciously make?
Right.
And
Did
typically, like, they just don't have an answer.
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted me to answer that or not. I'm like,
Yeah, how many decisions do you make?
well, I look at my shop, then I level, then I'm assuming I'm at like 50 gold. Like, shop, level, units, um, look at best board, and sometimes scout if I'm top four.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so five.
Cool. I'd say on average I'm making 5 decisions.
Pog,
Am I win streaking? Huh?
pog.
Yeah.
I'm
So
also making 5 decisions.
my 5 decisions every turn are: am I win streaking or am I lose streaking? Am I
Right.
rolling this turn or not? If I do roll, what am I looking for? Right?
Yeah.
I'm deciding how do I position by scouting.
Hmm.
I'm deciding what items I'm going to slam.
Right.
and I'm also deciding what my next unit is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, the answer is the same from the last turn, but
Yeah.
I always make the decision. I always ask again. I'm always
Right. Okay.
retaking.
Okay.
Right now, this goes to like order of operations during the turn. Right. So the method that I learned is roll, scout, position, slam.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And what I find is like for newer players, they don't understand how big the gap is. And this is where backseating actually comes into play. Because once you
Yeah.
start asking the questions and once you start telling them what to do, that's when they realize how big the gap is.
I think like even so the friend I was talking about, I did backseater for a while, and the improvements she has made is incredible. Like just from backseating alone is, I think, like I said, the best form of teaching someone how to do something. And
Yeah,
like
I'd
I
agree.
improved from the
Yeah.
game too. Like she went from iron, like she was straight up hard stuck iron or bronze, one of the two. And like, now she's playing at like platinum level and stuff. And honestly, there's only like upwards direction for her at this point. As long as she like puts in the work and doesn't get tilted, then yeah, there's only upwards direction.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this game is that
Yeah,
there's no if you look for it, there's always something you can improve on.
absolutely. Yeah, I
So
totally agree.
I mean that's just kind of like the best way to look at it in my opinion, right? Like that's the only way to look at it in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess now the best way to segue out here would probably just be how would you teach someone how to cook for the first time, or like how would you teach someone how to cook, right? So
Oh
using
God.
using these ideas, these analogies we've been talking about TFT, right?
Oh,
How would you teach someone to cook? Because
teaching
I
someone.
guarantee you, there's a couple of people who are listening to this who would love to be able to cook better.
Gosh. Like, are we assuming that they have no knife skills, no anything, or like average?
Uh, yes.
Okay. Well, honestly, the first thing I would say, gosh, this is hard. Maybe start with a recipe you can execute. Like to the T you can execute.
Okay.
And find a detailed recipe at that. So like I'm trying to think of like a really like detailed thing that they could make, but that is relatively simple.
Sure. I'm curious to what you think it is.
I don't know why like tacos keep coming to mind,
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
but I think tacos is a great example because there's a lot of moving parts to tacos, and it's relatively simple though,
Okay.
because everyone knows what a taco is, right?
Sure.
Everyone knows what a taco is supposed to look like. It's, your meat, your seasoned meat, your shell, your lettuce, your veggies, your dips, all that stuff, sauces. And to make a good taco requires just a lot of like know-how on how to make the dish. Like you need to know how to properly season the meat, properly prepare your lettuces, because it's going to look terrible if you just slap on like, you chop up half a thing of iceberg lettuce and you just slap that on top of it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, what? Okay, what do you think?
What do I think? Okay. So the last thing I think you want to do is anything elaborate. So the biggest enemies here, in my opinion,
Mhm.
are either A, injuring yourself, B, clean up from too many ingredients, too many pans, too many whatever,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
C, uh, percentage chance of failure. So I think the biggest thing at the beginning is
Mhm.
to avoid getting discouraged
Yeah.
because it's so easy to get discouraged. Like the amount of people that I know that wanted to start cooking, that go find some crazy ass Gordon Ramsay family holiday feast meal, and
True.
then like they've never cooked a day in their life, and they want to put together like a 3 hour beef Wellington. Is
Oh
like you're
God.
insane.
Yeah.
All right, you're insane. Okay, I think similarly to TFT or any game, you need to play at the level that you can currently execute at, right? I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of TFT players are trying to like roll 80 gold in one turn. It's like, hey, maybe you can only roll 20 gold in one turn. Maybe you
Right.
should actually roll on PvE as opposed to after PvE so you don't
Right.
lose like 40 HP in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the same idea that I have in my head. So
Okay.
a lot of people would say like start with eggs. I think eggs are the worst thing that
Eggs
beginners
are.
can start with because
You're always just gonna end up with scrambled.
they're so easy to fuck up.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be demoralized.
Yeah.
So what I would say is start with something that takes 5 minutes to do front to back that you really love.
Mhm.
So for an instance, I would say if you really want to start learning how to cook, start with a grilled cheese.
Okay.
It's super easy, right? You got
Mhm.
bread and you got cheese,
Okay.
right? You learn how to toast your bread, you learn how to melt your cheese, right? You can
Right.
do the two separate. You can toast your bread separate and you can melt your cheese separate and you can put the two together. Then you can learn
Right.
how to do it in one pan, how you can start toasting one side, add cheese, toasting the other side. And now you're learning a little bit of technique. You're learning how to actually toast the bread without burning it at the same time, giving it enough time for the cheese to melt,
Okay.
right? Then
Yeah.
I would say once you are confident in pulling that off, then you can make it fancy,
Right.
right? Now you can start doing, okay, well, what would a grilled cheese be with caramelized onions?
Oh, can I just say, grilled cheese with tomato pesto is so good.
Well, I was about to say, then what is it? What is a grilled cheese with a caramelized onion tomato jam,
Oh, just
right?
so good.
What is a grilled cheese when you do that with the caramelized onions and tomato jam with some herbs in it now, right? What does a grilled cheese with roast beef look like? What does a
Mhm.
grilled cheese with grilled chicken look like, right? And then you can even go as far as like make a grilled cheese with tomato soup,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's this idea of like you want to start with something small that you're not going to get discouraged with, but you can also elaborate on and
There's
work
a
on that
lot.
and create your base of
Yeah.
knowledge, right?
There's a lot of customization to it.
For sure. And then
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is just like you gotta enjoy it. You have to have
Yeah.
fun with it.
I think if you're not enjoying it, you're gonna have a really bad time, like learning how to cook.
Yeah, and like the worst thing you can do is like if you've never picked up a knife before, the worst thing you can do is pick a recipe that requires like 15 things to be cut up in 20 different ways,
Yeah.
right? Like avoid being discouraged, I think is the biggest part. And then
Hmm.
from there it's like I think Marco Pierre White says it best. And for those who don't know, Marco Pierre White is the chef that Gordon Ramsay learned underneath, or at
Hmm.
least one of them, right?
Yeah.
Marco
Yeah.
Pierre White, in his mind, perfection is just a bunch of little things done really well.
Yeah. I agree.
So I think that's the best way for someone to start cooking.
I think
Thoughts?
you also have to have a picture in your mind of what you want to come out. And
Yeah, for sure.
well, it may not come out as that. At least you're putting in the effort into learning. And I think, you know, just yeah, I think learning helps a lot.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Well, with that being said, I definitely learned a lot on this podcast. This was actually such a pleasure.
I
I'm really
learned more
glad
than
I was
you.
able really
I
glad I was
learned
able to
better
sit
than
down
you.
with you and just jive and talk cooking and TFT.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything you wanted to say before we sign off? Anything you wanted to promote?
Check out the cooking channel. I bothered Nar a long time to get that done. Uh, use exclamation mark moist in general chat. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, with that being said, like if you're listening to this right and you're not a part of our community,
yeah,
A, what the fuck is wrong with you? B,
please come.
B, join us at discord.gg/teamfighttactics. Come to the cooking channel. If you want to figure out how to cook, if you want to ask me how do you make caramelized onion tomato jam,
Yeah, I
let us
think
know. We're there.
me and you went back and forth on how to prepare octopus recently.
Yeah,
Actually,
did you do that? Did you make it?
I'm getting it set up tomorrow. I'm gonna start
Ooh.
braising tomorrow.
Oh, you excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah. Just
It's gonna
careful.
be
Like
fantastic.
I'm telling you, the
Um,
hardest part is the sear. The sear is
yeah,
the hardest part because you want to sear like all sides of the tentacles,
yeah.
but they curl up and they go all over the place. So like the pot needs to be so hot that it sticks to the pot as soon as it goes in.
I'm just looking at your cured salmon now. That looks fantastic.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, it's so good. I'm a huge fan of that now. Like these honestly, like I don't marinate overnight anymore.
Yeah,
I do like these like hour cures, and they comes out fantastic every time.
absolutely. I'm excited to see some new faces in here, get some fresh food, you know. Whatever your food looks like, post it in the channel.
It's not fair. I can't compete with your industrial lighting, dude. Your lighting makes your photos so good, and I'm like, I know it's just the lighting. I know it's just the lighting. I
Oh
gotta
my
like
god.
bring my ring light downstairs just to take photos of my food. Like,
Please do. Uh,
all right. Do you got a Twitch? Do you got a Twitter? Do you have any socials you wanna share?
I literally have none of those.
All right. Just come find you in the Discord.
Yeah, just come find me in the Discord at me, you know,
Cool.
Chef Moist.
Cool, cool, cool. Well,
Come bother me, I'll come bother you back.
Chef, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show here.
Thank you.
For those who are listening, thank you so much for making it. I actually had like a lot of fun on this recording.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the best recordings for me in terms of how I think the flow is. I think like I really hit this well with the tone and
Yeah, I think you did great.
the level of where I wanted to go. We're trying to build the best content for gamers who want to become not only better at games but also better at life. So
Yeah.
if you're here, if you're following, like if you're interested in getting involved or you have any ideas, or just send me your feedback. Like feedback helps so much. Like right now, I'm working on doing all the branding and stuff, and it's like it
Mhm.
all comes from the audience. It's all about what the audience wants to hear, who they are, how I can make the message better for them. So uh,
Yeah.
if you're listening, give me some feedback, please. I really love it. Um, and hit the like button. I don't care if you subscribe. That's up to you. That's your choice. But help me get
Smash
some.
that like button.
Help me get. You know what? The like button is literally Elo. It's literally LP. That's literally what it is.
I love that analogy. I do.
That's what it is, right? Like
Yeah.
it helps me climb. It
What
helps me
was
climb.
what was it? Your like button is your MMR, and the
Oh, no,
subscribe button is
yeah, your subscribe button is your subscribers are your LP. It's like how
yeah.
you can feel good about yourself, but the like button is your actual MMR.
Yeah, I love that. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, man. Player
Yeah.
dip. Just gamify everything. Gamify everything. Well, hey, Chef Moist, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I'll see
So
you
hey,
guys in the next one.
when are we gonna record this thing?
Oh fuck! I didn't even click record.
Oh yeah. Practice round.